take the Lulu away from Last Boy, which has shown a really great performance on that championship so far. I think the Rek'Sai ban was directly targeted because, well, its jungle just simply doesn't play Nidalee, so they just force another ban through this time.
Yeah, Victor taken off the table there. Maokai away from both Aluka and Dyrus, in fact. Dyrus was talking about the Maokai matchup yesterday. Crumbs, is Sion going to get banned as the last one, or what do you think it'll be?
I actually think that World Elite will more than likely not prioritize Sion as a first pick champion, opening up TSM to take it themselves. We know Dyrus is playing this champion in the LPL quite a bit, and he's really good at it too. So it forces World Elite to say, how much do we prioritize this Sion pick compared to a pick for either Spirit or for the Sivir pick?
Well, Morgana and Lulu both taken off the table, so the disengaged supports, if they want to go that route, Janna and Nami remaining, both have seen quite a bit of play, actually. The engaged supports not having the most success over the course of the World Championships. First pick, and rated, if you were in World Elite shoes, knowing their team fight style and knowing TSM strengths, where would you be looking?
I think we're looking at an AD carry pick, most likely. I think they're just going to either secure Corki early or go for a jungle pick.
This is something we forgot. First pick Jarvan happens all the time for Spirit.
I mean, if you're really good at a champion, you just don't care about anything else. You gotta give it to him, and he has shown that when he team fights on this champion, it shows why he wants the first pick above everything else.
Yeah, super safe as well. Crumbs, TSM, give me some predictions. Where are they looking? Nidalee in the jungle, maybe. Centaurans played that a few times. Seeing Rek'Sai, Maokai, do you even prioritize that anymore?
I think they don't have to commit to a jungle pick right now because it's already been taken, and the Sivir into the Jarvan is a little bit difficult. You know, it's good if you commit for a really hard engaged composition, but Jarvan has a really easy time ulting Sivir, flashing out, and being a short range AD carry. She just doesn't dish out a lot of damage, so Jarvan can really neutralize the Sivir.
And Rated, what's your take here? 10 seconds left. TSM and, well, WE rather, taking their time.
I was about to say the LeBlanc was open, Zed was banned, therefore the LeBlanc pick was pretty obvious there.
I wouldn't be surprised here to see the Ahri and just go for the all-in matchup that they took last time against the Tigers, of the Ahri versus LeBlanc, and he's going to need some pressure in the mid lane like we saw yesterday, because even though Cura eventually died in the 1v1 scenario, he did fall behind in CS in the early laning phase, and it was only that gank by Spirit that got him the lead that he needed to snowball the match.
So it does seem to be that route taking shape. A lot of mobility on Team WE, and Ahri's most likely going to get locked in. Still got Corki available if they want to run that route. As far as AD carries are concerned, a lot of Corki play at the World Championship. They're running the clock down.
I think the Janna is the most likely choice here, since they want to secure the best support for their composition. They have a lot of ADs open, there is no reason to secure that at this point. I think we're looking at probably support plus jungle pick here, so they don't show top lane just yet, because they might actually not know where the Jarvan is going, so that could be flex pick.
Yeah, good points. We do know that Spirit has played it consistently in the jungle though. Last Boy hovering on that Annie.
Now, Annie Sivir is a really hard engaged composition and can really pick on the Janna in the laning phase, just because one Tibbers and she can pretty much get popped instantly. I'd like to see this combo with a Vi, a really hard engaged composition, and the Vi LeBlanc will kill anything in the mid lane, giving you a lot of pressure in that match, which is really what we thought was the key for this matchup. Who's going to be able to out-pressure mid lane? And with the Vi pick, you know, you fall behind early, but you eventually come out ahead at the level 6, and we are going to see the Vi pick. And I'd be a little worried if I was World Elite fighting mid lane now.
Question then as well, what do they consider for top lane? And Rated, what's your thoughts here so far?
So Maokai is out of the game. I think we might actually see the Sion again. That's what I was about to say. It seems the most obvious choice. I think there's a lot of opportunity they have. I think Lissandra might be actually a good pickup. The Vi Lissandra hard engage comp as a frontline could work for them, since they already went for it. That's not going to be
yeah, that's a troll for the time being. So team composition rounded out here for Team WE. Very safe AD carry with Ezreal there for Mystic. Sion top, Jarvan, a little bit of everything. They've got some team fight, they've got engage, disengage in some ways.
It's the exact same style that we saw them play against the GE Tigers. So if it's not broke, don't fix it, and they're going with that. And I agree with Unrated here. The Lissandra pick really able to lock down the 2-threat composition from World Elite, which is something that's really important to note, that with all the lockdown that TSM has, even more lockdown will mitigate all the damage from World Elite essentially. And unless you see a early QSS and Crucible from the Janna, they're going to have a really hard time dishing out enough damage to kill TSM.
Well, on the side of Team WE, this was the exact team composition that they beat GE Tigers that first time yesterday in the series in the best of 3. Rumble was banned out consistently against Team Solomid throughout the playoffs. It's not Lissandra, but it is Rumble. There's a lot of damage from TSM. They want to go in and they want to go hard.
Especially since they have so much engaged. Rumble is a really decent follow-up. I think they just wanted to have a safe champ for Dyrus in this first match, to have a lot of confidence going into the match. So I think Dyrus was just falling back to his safe pick Rumble. Since it was banned so much, I think he feels really confident playing this champ. So therefore we will see him playing it with a really good hard engage comp.
These are some really different drafts, and it only tells you that it's going to be an incredibly action-packed game just because of how much damage they dish out, to be honest.
Yeah, and the players have chosen their champions. We'll be back and on the Rift with the first game of our grand final between WE and TSM right after this.
Welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship. We're about to get into game number 1 of the big final here between Team WE and Team Solomid. My name, of course, is Joe Miller, joined today by Monte Cristo and Officio. Guys, let's go straight into team comps here before we join the game. What are we thinking?
I think Deficio and I really agree here. TSM has to have a successful mid-game with all of these heavy engaged champions. If they don't, WE is going to more than likely vastly outscale them. This Scion with the composition that TSM is running is really going to be unkillable. Sivir's such a short-range champion that the CC will be there, and if he builds MR, Bjergsen and Dyrus are going to have a hard time.
And I really worry for Dyrus here with this Rumble. I almost feel like it was a forced pick for him in that top lane. There's so much mobility on the side of World Elite. It's going to be nearly impossible for Dyrus to get a proper ulti. It's going to be basically just a zone away once the Scion and the Jarvan jumps in.
And sorry to cut you off. We are in game here for the first one of this best of 5 grand final. Of course, the group's been best of 1, semi-finals best of 3, now up to a best of 5 to decide whose name will go on the trophy here for Season 9 of the Intel Extreme Masters. And already, Shie and Bjergsen just having a little bit of fun in that mid lane to kick us off.
We're going to see a lot of action around this mid lane here, because when you're playing double assassin, it's really about who can snowball each other here. We haven't seen Centaurion being too active in early game beforehand, while Spirit likes to come in there and give his mid laner a helping hand.
When we first saw these two teams play before in one of the first games in this tournament, what happened was that TSM had a very strong early game warding plan, and they got wards on both WE's Krugs and the Gromp so they could keep control of Spirit. And really why TSM did have such a successful early game was they had the teleport on the Diana, Bjergsen was able to maintain pressure in mid, and therefore TSM continued to follow Spirit's pathing. They don't have it this game. We did see WE defensively play against that to prevent the invade.
Yeah, I think I will try to predict at least around this bottom lane is because you're playing Sivir Annie, you can push in the lane early. Ezreal doesn't really have much pressure in the early game. That opens up for Lost Boy to roam to the mid lane. So if we're going to see a pink ward in the river from Team Solomid, then we can roam with the Annie, and that can really snowball that lane. If he goes in, lands a stun onto Xie, and we see a kill from Bjergsen, then suddenly that lane is open again for Team Solomid, and they can start invading into the jungle of World Elite and place these deep wards to try and spot out Spirit, which is gonna be the game plan. You gotta be able to track this Jarvan here. Don't worry, Joe, this is all planned for Sion.
I knew you were going to call me out on that as soon as we saw him in there. I just saw the message and I wasn't really thinking about it. That's why I was so surprised the other day. But Luca, of course, going to do his standard start by now here on Sion. We've seen him do that every single game that he's picked that one. And to be honest, his Sion play has been really, really good. Become an unstoppable tank force in that late game.
Yeah, it's one of the few champions we've really seen Luca deliver on. His engages, he's hit them when it mattered. They haven't always been flawless. It has been a bit hair-raising at times, I will say. And look at this Spirit already with the early crab grab right there to check in and see if he can find Santorin looking for a gank, or at least see if Sion can push up in this matchup. And, you know, for me, this matchup is very interesting. It's the same matchup that Xia played into Kuro in our last semi-final, and we saw him do very well there, but skill matchup overall.
Yeah, this matchup is so much about predicting where LeBlanc is going to jump with her distortion and then land a charm onto her, because if you do that, you're going to win the trade from Ari's side, but it is the LeBlanc who has the mobility advantage, 1 to 5 at least, and that's why Bjergsen can decide the trades at least, or if you just want to sit and farm and wait for level 6, that's his decision to make. I still want to look at these two junglers because Spirit has been a lot more active in terms of early ganking. We've seen him gank a lot for Luca in the top lane because Xia has been able to kind of hold his own in the mid lane nearly every single game, even beating all the mid laners. Santorin with an early ward like we often see from him. Not been looking for a gank just yet on this Vi here though.
Yeah, you were talking about Spirit, and I think his style different there to Santorin, who we saw, I think yesterday was a prime example of it. We only really saw him come into it when he was a counter gank in the top lane to help Dyrus get first blood. Granted, it wasn't the most proactive of starts, but when he did finally turn up, they were able to get themselves a kill. And expect pretty much similar style from him today, especially playing that Vi to get up to level 6 in the early stages. Bottom lane is actually being pushed up fairly heavy here by Team WE.
Yeah, Spirit on that side of the map. Spirit actually took a pretty delayed red buff right here, so we'll see if there's a plan for him coming in, because Santorin should be timing out pretty soon, and he may have that little advantage.
Yeah, that should be a pretty good edge for World Elite in terms of early ganks. Even if Santorin is there for counter gank, the red buff is very important. Obviously, this bottom lane is not exactly easy to gank for Vi pre-level 6, as well with his jump, and Janna obviously with the movement speed. Santorin looking, Spirit, around the mid lane. It's going to be so much about these two guys in this mid lane here and what the junglers can do to help them. So far, we haven't seen any action. Just fairly standard farming. Wild Turtle falling slightly behind down here in the bottom lane. I'm not sure if they lost the race for level 2, but that's often why we see them fall behind early on.
So that must have been it, because what happened was they tried an invade, and yet WE still got the small Krug right there and immediately came back to lane, and that's a double knockup right there, but not too bad. Turtle taking a few pokes, but there's a big advantage actually, potion advantage already on for Mystic in the bottom lane with that CS edge.
It really is a problem. If you don't notice them take this camp at level 1 or at least one of the small golems, you don't notice the XP difference, and then you start pushing the lane early on because you're fighting for that level 2, and once you realize they're going to get it before you and you're stuck in the middle of the lane, then you take a lot of damage. Both junglers though, once again, around this mid lane, Spirit still with that delayed red buff. He's waiting for Bjergsen to use his distortion offensively, and then he can go in and force a flash.
Yeah, They were pinging onto him there. I think they'd already realized that Spirit had kind of looped around and gone back in, even when Santorin had backed away. But coming in again, trying to get in position for a counter gang, which is what we've seen from Santorin in almost every early game.
You see how active WE is on the map, though, because when they had their dual lane, had this lane press forward, they sent both the AD and the support up into that mid lane just in case anything happens. So they definitely are trying to be the aggressor here and get some early kills onto the mid lane if they can, and they'll sacrifice, a little CS and a little pressure to do it.
It's really been a standard comp here for World Elite and a standard level 1 or early game, we can say, because they really like to play these compositions where they have an assassin that can kill people one-on-one, you have a massive tank in the top lane with a teleport, and that enables you to do a 1-3-1 split push once you get out of the laning phase, where your goal is basically to pressure every single lane at once and use Xia on this Ari here to try and outplay Bjergsen honestly and kill him in these side lanes. If you manage to do it, suddenly you have a numbers advantage in multiple lanes where you can push them up, you can get a tower, you can get a dragon, and that's really how you open up 4 objectives. And I think it's really smart when you're a fairly new team who relies so much on your individual skill, because the communication needed is more just like, I'm backing, everyone else backs away, take it easy, because obviously when you do 1-3-1, you all gotta be on the same page and push the lanes at once.
Yeah, we take a look at them taking the Scuttle Crab right there. One thing about WE that we thought may be a bit of an issue in this series is Spirit really likes to solo Dragon early, and he can be sneaky about it. And TSM has been pretty lackluster at early Dragon warding in general, so they may not even be able to see this coming if Spirit decides to go for it. This time around, he won't, however. Bjergsen will find that pink ward up in the top side and take it out.
Torin is nearby as well with the level 6 in case Bjergsen gets jumped on. Won't happen. So now they see an opening. They just cleared the ward. When there's a pink ward in that small bush, then you never expect the enemy team to have a ward also in the bush here next to the mid lane, because that would be like double warding, not really needed. So in this case here, they at least have some information from Team Solomid's side. And I really want to see also with Ahri here in this game, because we saw yesterday into double AP, Shia went for Athene's into Abyssal Scepter and became very strong, at least when fighting these mages. Obviously slightly weak in terms of damage in the overall picture, but against the mages, it's super strong for the one-on-ones, and he looks to be going the same this time here, obviously with double AP or even triple AP with the Annie from Team Solomid, and his goal is kill Bjergsen every time he gets the chance.
Yeah, and he's got himself there, Shia, that blue buff. We also saw Santorin picking up the red buff on his side. Previously, Dyrus using his equalizer actually to just clear out that wave so that he could return home. Pick himself up the Haunting guys pretty much straight out there. And he's keeping up decently at this point. And also, just as Yuji and Lost Boy here are going to meet, don't think there's too much action really to be had there. But we also saw Ahri starting to roam down. Pink ward in position. Could this be the Dragon attempt for WE?
Well, they may try and pick up something right here. They're harassing the blue buff at the moment. They want to take this away from Bjergsen, deny him that little bit of extra mana, and he is going to wrap around from the side. This is a dangerous position for WE. There's the TP coming in from both top laners, and both cancelled by everybody.
Both cancel at the same time. Defensive ones coming in, not a whole lot they could do with them, and everyone back away, but they're still staying around the blue buff itself. They really want to deny it and give that edge to the Ahri in the lane matchup.
Yeah, they're going to be hard pressed. There's the true shot. Takes it.
He gets it.
And that is okay. Let's talk about this now, because Mystic's build, if we take a look at it, he's going a very unusual path for a laning Ezreal, which is that Muramana first, or Manamune rather. And so this is very greedy, but he's winning this lane so hard that he does have some wiggle room. He's so far ahead in CS. Now he's got the blue buff to stack it up even faster, and that means he's going to hit a big power spike that WE needs sooner.
And you can simply see how they planned this invade on the blue buff, also by getting that pickaxe. So you want as much damage, but no, bot lane.
Yeah, UJ completely caught out there. They went for the Tibbers first. It was followed up then by Santorin with the Assault and Battery. They knew that pink ward was down by Dragon, and they've got the numbers advantage there. This is going to be possibly, I'm not 100% sure if I'm correct, it just feels like this is TSM's first time that they're actually getting a first Dragon in a game.
And they really haven't excelled at this, but by choosing that bottom lane gank, they also turn things around for Wild Turtle. So very important, because he is going to get that first blood money after falling behind pretty far in this matchup.
Only one summoner blown here from Lost Boys, so once Santorin gets ulti again, he can look for another gank. There's not a whole lot you can do in that bottom lane. When a Sivir pops her ulti and a Vi jumps towards you, you will end up dead. And that's exactly what happened for Team Orwell for Will the lead here.
Yeah, very difficult to escape, especially when pushed so far. Bjergsen going at it.
Oh, here comes Spirit though. This could be dangerous for Bjergsen. Can they get on top of him? There's a Cataclysm. Bjergsen super low, and they'll finish him up. Shie picking that one up.
Bjergsen should not take this trade here. He knows his own jungler has just blown his ulti, which is so important in these fights around the mid lane. And also Santorin wasn't even near. He was doing the wolf camp at first, and then Bjergsen jumps in for no reason, gets caught out, and this is so important here. Early kill onto the Ahri, mid lane tower going down as well. This is exactly what World Elite wanted.
This is absolutely huge for them. Again, they do have that scaling edge, so getting the early towers is just going to accelerate their growth into the late game.
And this is also going to make it so hard for Santorin to look for the next gank, because once you kill that mid tower, you really open up the enemy jungle. You now have multiple ways of getting into the jungle and also get out in case you do get in a bad situation. Look now for Spirit and Sheer to really move in there, place a few deep wards, spot when Santorin is doing some camps, and then suddenly you won't be able to get a gank like we saw before.
Oh, Dyrus here might be in a little bit of trouble. I think he should be able to walk away from this one, even as a flash if needed. Spirit walking up there, no Cataclysm available, but he's going to be forced to use it. I didn't think it would go that far, but it certainly did. And Dyrus now turning things around, and that is a lot of damage onto Spirit.
Yeah, still Summoner blown. However, for Dyrus and the ultimate down as well, so he won't be so much of a threat. This is a sneaky little gank coming in.
Nice trap.
Oh, Lustboy from the side. That's a good Howling Gale. While Turtle not able to get in. Santorin a little bit too far away. However, Flash was used there by UJ.
Yeah, but even so, he didn't use it in the last fight when he was locked down, so he actually had a method of escape this time. But that will set him up for another gank from Santorin if they really, really want to press this one down. They still are behind in terms of CS. And a little bit of damage control here from Mystic, going for that Sheen as his next item instead of completing. So that tier going to take a little bit longer to get fully stacked.
I like the way he's building though, the way he's trying to react to what's going on in the game. When World Elite wants to make a play, then he goes back and looks at the amount of gold and says, okay, how can I do the most damage at this point? Okay, I need this pickaxe, even though I can't complete the mana immune just yet. And then I can start, you know, joining in for a potential fight around the enemy blue buff. Then he goes back next time and says, okay, we just died in the lane. What do I need for maximum damage? I need that Sheen already. So I like the way he's trying to adapt to it, and he's been doing a very good job. He got that level advantage from level 2, where he got the push first, and that really set TSM behind in this lane.
So right there, we did see Santorin come back in for the lane gank. They want to get Janna again if they can, but we did see the recall and then the Krugs kill from Mystic instead. So WE, now with a little fear in them, they are playing further back, opening up some of the CSing opportunities. But here we go up in the top side.
Oh, Dyrus going to be caught in Cataclysm, and last time they came around, they didn't have that flash, or Dyrus was forced to use a flash. There's a True Shot barrage coming through. And that bottom lane, Mystic got incredibly low. I liked how they funneled that kill there as well in that top side onto Xia.
Yeah, again, it's about this mid lane here, and that's why World Elite can take this trade. Top lane tower will take a lot of damage as well, but simply what Team Solomid is trying to do here is using Sivir, who's extremely strong at fast pushing, to get an early tower, and now you can swap her around. You can swap it to the top lane, start fast pushing that one while the dragon is not alive anyway, and that's how you can try and create a global goal advantage, because Ezreal is not able to hold his own in a one-on-one, at least not stop the wave from just pushing in over and over. Problem is, World Elite are putting their focus on the other side of the map, around the top lane. Dyrus being shut down now. We saw the kill in the mid lane on Bjergsen as well. And that is more important for World Elite, because when Mystic played Israel yesterday, he fell behind the lane, he lost his tower, but it didn't matter, because his job in team fights was simply to act as a janitor and just clean up.
And just talking about Spirit's jungling this game, he has had such good control over the Rift Scuttlers, just constantly making sure that they go over to WE side as his lanes are pushed up. That has been most of his focus throughout this early game. Much more about that vision, also repeatedly smiting the Raptor buff. We've seen him constantly clearing wards with that ability, and they may try and contest this blue as it's up right now. A lot of people that will be seen by TSM's ward in the river.
And we do see Wild Turtle in the top lane here, one-on-one against the Lucas. So he is swapping from the bottom lane. That's why they put all the pressure on that tower. We'll try and trade potentially this one for the next dragon. Obviously no teleport on your AD carry. But this should also mean a blue buff will go to World Elite when there's this teleport threat.
Yeah, look at that wave control too, shoving all the way up, making sure it's as safe as possible before they go after it. And Lustboy coming up, a little scrapping up in the top lane between Turtle and Aluka.
Wow, spell shield used there. Stop Aluka getting that stun out, but we'll see here if that turret does in fact go down. Santorin's actually decided to leave them move more towards that middle side of the map. 30 seconds until the dragon comes up. We can see, if you look at the minimap, that both Jarvan and Ari are moving down the bottom. This could be really bad news for Dyrus. Will he stick around? No, he won't. Safer play.
Okay, smart play by Dyrus here. You saw 3 guys from Team Solomid on the top side. So obviously with the dragon spawning and the bot lane already being pressured from World Elite, that's an easy tower they trade. They're going to get that dragon as well for themselves. And we're going to have to see if World Elite, Team Solomid wants to push the mid lane after.
Yeah, with Santorin walking up into that top side, they don't have a lot of pressure on this dragon right at the spawn. So WE is actually going to take 2 objectives and trade for 1.
But Team Solomid, they want the mid lane instead here. They're expecting World Elite to go down and take the dragon. You can push in here. Let's see if they want to go for any setup. I mean, Santorin is going to be way too late. Just push in that mid lane here, get a bit of damage on the tower, and escape outside towards your own jungler on the top side.
Big collapse. Dyrus is in there.
Here's the charge right through. Will he connect onto anyone? He won't, but Spirit moving forward as well. Wild Turtle using his ultimate very defensively, but Lost Boy goes back in there. I'm not sure that was the best move for him. Mystic will shut down 1. Turtle will make it 1 apiece, and I think that's all she wrote for this fight, 1 each.
They have to back off right there. The fact that the Sion ult, that was mostly just to get them off the tower, and it was a bit of a bonus after they stuck around. Xia is very, very strong right now. He's going to be immune to a lot of the magic damage put out due to the fact that he's building Chalice into Abyssal right now, and so very risky engage for TSM to take. I think they were getting a bit greedy right there, and they should have committed to the mid lane push sooner.
Exactly. It just seemed like they wanted to do 2 things. One guy was saying we can maybe stop the dragon, so 2 of them were moving down towards that one while the rest was staying in the mid lane, and just didn't manage to push it in time. But 17 minutes in, 2 items now completed on an Ahri. So much magic resistance. This will basically nullify the early magic penetration for Dyrus as well, because once you get up to a certain amount of magic resist, removing 15 is not really going to do a whole lot. That's why you're going to need that Void Staff coming in later on for both Bjergsen and Dyrus, if they want to do any damage to Xia at least.
Yeah, this is looking pretty good so far for WE. They have held their own. They've made sure that they've gotten some objectives as well with this more late game focused team composition. Dyrus has gone for the Liandry's just to burn down some of Aluka's HP, but it's going to be hard. The Vanjie's Veil completed right now for Bjergsen or Dyrus to do any damage.
I'm really expecting Bjergsen to go Void Staff second item. It's a thing he likes to do on LeBlanc anyway, to reach an earlier spike and a bit cheaper one instead of waiting for that death cap, which obviously costs a lot of gold and also requires you, when you back, to have at least 1600 gold for that large rod, which we don't see too often if there's a lot of action. So Void Staff should be coming in second for him. All his MR, even Spirit getting some for himself. And we normally see the support from World Elite also go for the Locket on their side. It's a fun little thing because Spirit is one of the big carries on this team. So he's building pure tank. He doesn't build any items that really help the team except for that Sightstone. So the Locket always goes to the support no matter what they play. And that's just a cool little thing to see how Spirit wants to be as strong as possible, because obviously the Locket itself is not that gold efficient just for him.
Oh, Spirit gonna dive in here. Lost Boy in the middle, but Xia comes around the side. The throw Tibbers on him. Equalizer will come down as well. Santorin should be able to finish off Spirit. He'll be close, but he does get the kill. He'll pay the price in the end now, and that's a double kill for Xia. He's already going great for him. He's now 4-0-1, and TSM losing another 2-for-1.
They're being forced up towards the top side here to retreat. That means the mid lane suddenly is open. World Elite already pinged it. 4 guys pushing them. This is what they like to do so much. Have pressure in every single lane. Look at the bottom lane. That's already pushing just from the minions. Meanwhile, you had Mystic sitting in the mid lane and Aluka now zoning them away from this tower here. This should give some damage at least for World Elite.
Bjergsen does nothing to Aluka there. We've just seen him throwing a few spells his way. It really doesn't do all that much damage. And now with another wave coming in, what are they going to go for? Xia just trying to get his orbs across them. Dyrus lost a bit of health, but looks like TSM will be able to hold on to that turret for now.
Yeah, you know, we were talking a bit during Champ Select about this Rumble pickup for Dyrus. It's been one of his less impressive champions, and we thought maybe that if he had been practicing it, perhaps a Hecarim would have been a lot better here, adding to that hard engage because of the difficulty of hitting this equalizer, and we've seen it. And there's not really anything he can do about it either. It's just purely the mobility of the composition makes it very, very, very hard to land. And so, see as they go ahead and take a pink ward right there, WE starting to look for picks and advance that ward line, and we see Aluka going in to a wall.
Wow.
Yeah, all planned.
It was just you know, a dummy to face Dyrus back there. I think that's what they were going for. They're going to steal away this blue buff either way. And again, Bjergsen struggling to keep control of that. And that's bad news in the long run.
It's such a nice play from World Elite, and them knowing, okay, we won the mid lane, we were also winning the bottom lane, at least in the early game, so that allows us to move into the jungle of Team Solomid and ward up around this blue buff. They tried to contest for the first one, had to just back away though, but the last 2 has gone over to World Elite, so they denied from Bjergsen here. His impact on this game has really been nullified by the way World Elite has played and by him taking that fairly bad trade in the early game where his jungler wasn't there to try and help him.
She is now moving up towards the top side of the map. Wild Turtle in there. That pink ward will spot, in fact, the 3-man team that's now coming up, plus Aluka, who not quite got his ulti back after running into that wall a little bit earlier on, but that might mean that he gets a bit of free time to push this turret in the top lane. Would be the 3rd of the game for WE if he can manage it.
Shia going back and immediately buying a needlessly large rod. He's really pulling ahead in this matchup so far. TSM finding an opportunity, a good one in fact, to go ahead and deal some damage to this mid lane turret. It looks like they'll pick it up.
Yeah, no chance to defend that. Just Mystic's Ezreal. And that's 30 seconds for Dragon once again, and we can see it's TSM now with Bjergsen having a Void Staff, moving in to get those wards down.
And this is the critical timing for TSM. They have to start making more plays in the game. The gold lead is still relatively even, but they are arriving at a little bit of a power spike right now, and if it goes much later and that Sion gets tankier, it's going to be very difficult for them.
I would love to see them place a pink ward around this Dragon and just have Bjergsen sit in that bush here. See if anyone from World Elite comes in to face check. If it's not a Luka, he can chunk them down so they have to retreat. Let's see though. Ari is going for Dyrus.
Missed the charm, so no kill on there. Dyrus does make it out, but he has been chunked already.
He has teleport though. This is big for the fight. No ulti from the Ari is very, very important here in this mid game. You can see how Bjergsen, he's waiting to get the rest of they're going in.
Oh, they're going to get Mystic down instantly there. Lost Boy flash timbers. They're now going to aim for Spirit, who manages to get the flag and drag away. Well, they're going to keep chasing. Bjergsen will leap in from the side, and that will be another couple of kills. Meanwhile, Luka did ulti charge towards them, but he's going to be kept completely off to the side. Chia might be able to do some damage, but he won't save his teammate, and that is 3 kills for nothing there for TSM.
Absolutely love the setup here. They knew first of all that Ari had no ulti, and also you have this mid-game LeBlanc who just finished her Void Staff. Wait in a bush around this Dragon. Someone is going to come in and try and face check you, and that's where you can jump in. Lost Boy with the engage, and also Mystic. What was he doing there? He's not the guy to run in first. Either you check with your Q or you don't even get near it.
Not to mention the misplay by Aluka after going ahead and ulting in. A little bit unnecessary. And for me, you know, right there, better just to see if you can get some wards on your flank and push up to this already damaged tier 2. It's okay to let TSM have that Dragon at this timing because you don't want to fight in their power spike. Shia coming around on Santorin, starting to box him in.
Well, UJ trying to close him down here. She is going to go dashing over the wall, lands the charm. This is going to be a kill for World Elite, and it is Shia that makes it 5-0-1 now. And he's just raking in the money. 9,200 gold overall, way more than everyone else in the game, and he's sat on 1,200 to spend again.
He's very rich for sure. Really been about this mid lane pressure coming from World Elite. They're pinging this mid tower. The wave is being pushed up now, so Team Solomid had loads of time to get in position. Bjergsen needs to be careful though. He's staying on his top side all alone, so it opens up for World Elite to just go in and poke it a few times. You gotta Trinity Force on your Ezreal, just get it down.
Yeah, Lucas steps forward, don't even need to tank there. TSM just letting them have that. That's the 3rd turret for WE. TSM also sitting on 3, and if you look at the gold, there's really not much of a difference between a 150, 200 max.
And that's really the big story of this game, right? WE being even in gold right now is a very good sign for them. They've actually managed to, I think, weather most of the storm right now. TSM needs to find some more picks. They've got to play that vision game. And right now, the warding is so deep for WE within their own jungle. They can read almost any movement.
But we can see how Team Solomid are trying to do it. They have 4 sweepers and no sightstone on the jungler, so they have a very low amount of green wards they can place on the map at the time. Instead, they're trying to deny vision to really get this bush here where you can set up your LeBlanc, your Annie, and wait for World Elite to face check you. But I'm not sure they're going to make the same mistake again, because that was a big one they made earlier where Team Solomid got a few kills and a Dragon.
Well, they're not going to even be able to get close to taking out these wards, at least on the other side of the map right there. On the lower side, let's see what WE decides to do, taking some movement in to control this Baron area. And we've seen WE is actually very willing to just go ahead and poke into an early Baron, see if they can take it and back out. They really like testing the waters in that way.
Yeah, they're going to need some wards behind the Baron pit before they can do it, because Team Solomid does have a combo that can really engage onto you with Sivir and Vi.
Dyrus actually down in the bottom lane here, does have TP available to him, but looks like Aluka will just finish off the 4th turret of the game here for WE. So all the outer ring is now down. Of course, that inner turret in the middle lane from a little bit earlier on. And now, TSM just started to push back out, wanting to get some more wards down, making sure that they don't get pushed too far out from this Baron. As you mentioned, WE have shown that they're not scared to make that quick call to go in there and sneak one away, especially since Xie has another 1,000 gold to spend after he went back and spent his last 1,200. So we'll see what he comes back in with. We are going to finally see a blue buff going over to Bjergsen. I think there was 2 in a row before that that were taken away. He'll be happy to finally get that back in his hands.
And I quite like what World Elite did beforehand, or just before. Instead of splitting up in all 3 lanes and trying to like ward 2 jungles at once, which is very tricky against 4 sweepers, and again, you don't want to face check this LeBlanc here and being caught out. They focus just on 2 lanes, mid lane and top lane around the Baron, because if you invest a lot of wards into just 1 jungle, it's a lot easier for you to defend these wards as well, and therefore you avoid this pick potential from Team Solomid where you have to go in and face check. So I really like how to play that one. Now, because Dragon is going to come up in a few minutes, we might see them just put the focus on the bottom side instead and do the same thing. Push 2 lanes at once around this blue buff here, be able to defend your wards so Bjergsen has no chance of getting a pick on you where you have to blindly face check him, and that's a good way of simply avoiding TSM coming back in the game.
Yeah, Luca has been slowly pushing this lane forward in the bottom side. And again, WE looking so impressive as a unit in terms of contesting actively every objective and not letting up on the pressure. And look at this, it's so far in advance of the Dragon. They're still trying to make moves on the map, shoving those waves slowly. And if we look at it, a little hard to tell, but it does look like there's a slow wave developing in...
It's a 4 versus 4 up there with a melee minion. Oh, sorry, 5. It's going to push for Team Solomid.
Yep.
Just checked on my screen over here. So that's going to be slowly pushing down, which means whether it has to send someone up and just clear at least the caster minions if he wants to start a slow push for himself. But Dragon is spawning soon. We already got the deep wards from World Elite, so they shouldn't be able to face check or shouldn't get in that situation instead. They might be trying to bait that Baron because there's no vision from Team Solomid, and they want him to run in from the mid lane here and face check them.
What can they do? Bjergsen probably out of the question to catch, but here comes a Luca powering up. Can he land? He does land, but against the wall, but not quite close enough to make any impact. There's a true shot barrage coming out fairly early from Mystic, and a nice little attempt there to get in for WE, but now it's TSM that are actually pushing back up into this middle lane. Will one of them commit to starting off this fight? Lustboy at the front, he's got Flash, he's got Tibbers, he's just actually used the stun there onto a Luca, so they will back away for now. And now it's WE that have that hold on the mid lane.
It's so hard for Team Solomid to get the right engage out in the open when World Elite can see them against this high mobility composition, and they're going in!
Oh, Spirit will dive to the back. Lustboy actually incredibly low. Santorin as well. Meanwhile, Turtle getting chopped up. He's at half HP, and Xie is going to get right on top of him to finish off the second kill of that fight. Santorin somehow escaped off to the side, but a little bit wishy-washy there from TSM, caught out of position.
And they were just waiting actually for the Scion ult to come back up, which was going to be right about the time this Dragon went live. But you can't engage on a Scion in a choke point like that who's charging up his stun. And then we saw Santorin come in, use his ultimate onto Spirit, definitely not the target you want to go for, and W is able to turn that fight, engage with the Cataclysm and clean it up very easily. A very dangerous flash or dash forward from Xie though, that could have gone really wrong.
He likes to play these very aggressive team fights. We've seen it also, we saw it yesterday how he was diving in for the backline. It's one of the reasons he built this very tanky Ari build as well. And he's obviously going to be able to go back and get a death cap now. This guy, he is extremely fed. He can one-shot nearly everyone.
Yeah, death cap finish off and another blasting one. Meanwhile, TSM did pick up a Dragon, so consolation prize we can maybe call that for TSM. Well, they are 4,000 or 3,500 gold behind. WE starting to push out of base again.
But again, this is the last fight here. It's all credit to World Elite and the deep wards they play so far in advance, because it means Team Solomid has to engage out in the open. And then again, it's so easy to see them. It's so easy to jump away if you're on Ari, if you're on Ezreal. And then suddenly Team Solomid needs to engage on the big front line, which obviously is never going to work for you. So these deep wards here, and obviously also because Team Solomid is simply not able to clear them, there's only one upgraded sweeping lens on their side here, and obviously no sidestone from Santorin. So they simply don't have the same amount of wards to play with. And that cost them so much on the map.
And what we've seen here that actually surprises me from watching WE play in the LPL is some of the players that have stayed on the roster, including Spirit and Yitza, because these guys didn't really have great synergy as a support and jungler in terms of getting these deep wards in. In fact, the warding, I think, has been exceptional the deeper we go into this tournament from WE and as they start to figure things out. And you have to wonder how much of that is actually Mystic compared to STYZ, where they're able to hold their own better in the laning phase, therefore get more pressure and free Yitza up, because we just haven't seen the same level of warding in the old version of WE at all.
Wow, Spirit going full on here in towards Dyrus, but Dyrus will use a flash there. It was actually kept in quite timely. He decided to flash once that charm from Chie came his direction, and TSM here looking to set something up inside of their own jungle, but WE with that low jungler, gonna send him back home to heal up and scan out a little bit. But that's the funny thing, you can use all the scans in the world, but TSM just don't really have any wards that far out.
No, it's gonna be tough here for Team Solomid, and also just forcing the flash on Dyrus is very important because he's the guy who can't really follow. When they dive the back line, he can only put down his ulti, and then Rumble is gonna like walk his way in to follow up a LeBlanc or a Vi who's obviously dashing forward. So having no flash as well simply means that Dyrus won't really have a whole lot he can do in the next few fights, and that just makes it even safer for the backline of World Elite, who's honestly not been challenged at all in the fights. They've always been able to pick out the targets they want, and all the damage has gone on Aluka, on Spirit, the two tanks.
Spirit in prime position here. If only he had his Cataclysm available, but Aluka does have his ulti. They're going for Turtle. He'll go incredibly low. They're going to get him as well. Mystic will get that one. The second man falls, and now Dyrus will be the target. Aluka's up in the main base, but Dyrus does go down. That's a double for Mystic now. The rest of the team try and back away. Bjergsen will mop up a kill in favor of TSM, but they've got 3 men down, and they're going to lose the first in him.
Centaur not even using the assault and battery over the course of that fight, and Turtle getting caught really far up in the front line. What I love, though, is Aluka playing very aggressively on that wave. He knows how tanky it is, and this is the problem with this WE comp in the late game. If the wave comes in, he can simply walk right past the turret, tank all that damage, and make sure the turret goes down. And you have to respect that Sion, because he can engage on you so fast between those turrets, and the cleanup just came in right afterwards. We have all these champions, Jarvan, Ahri, Ezreal, who can close the gap between themselves and that Sion nearly instantly. So there is a lot of threat coming in, and you have to play further back than usual and respect the Sion.
Another 2,000 gold, I just want to point out for Chia to go back and spend. Every time I've pressed X here on my keyboard, it seems like he's up in, well, lots of gold territory. You see that by his item build. He is pretty scary at this point, with that Void Staff now added in.
He's earned 14,000 gold. 3,000 more than Bjergsen on the side of Team Solomid in this game here. And honestly, Team Solomid, if they want to get a proper fight, they're going to need to have to find some way of flanking on World Elite here, where they can maybe catch out Mystic, or potentially even just lock down the Janna before she can use the Monsoon to start the fight itself. But in order for you to get these flanks, well, again, you need that vision control that World Elite is simply not giving to you. And that's why it's so impossible for Team Solomid to find that right team fight here. And we've talked about it so many times, and they just do the same again. Straight into the jungle, place a few wards. Suddenly there's very little room for Bjergsen to create a pick, or for Santorin to really get the right engage from the flank.
Yeah, there's almost nothing they can do at this stage, honestly. It would take really a very bold face check from WE when they were separated in order to turn this game around. And then an immediate objective pickup from Team Solomid. They do have 3 dragons, so if they can drag it out a little bit through picks, maybe they can come back, but it's gonna be real hard.
But we can see the plan from Team Solomid coming into this game. They were expecting World Elite to split push every single lane at once, and then you have this hard engage from a Vi to single out a target and just get that kill to stop the 1-3-1 from happening. But because World Elite adapted, went for the 1-4 split instead and started really deep on just one side, well, we're going to see a fight first, we talk about it after.
Tibbers is in there, Shia will be the focus from this one, and surely will go down. It is a shutdown here for Santorin and WE, trying to rally and back away from this one. There is Spirit diving in, Yuji is there as well, and they've already lost Mystic, so they've got no damage left in this fight. That's 4 men down. UJ will back off, but a 4-for-1 for TSM.
And suddenly they win the fight here. Shia was focused down, no defensive items from him. Santorin with the ulti and just Team Solomid blowing him up completely before the fight even started.
And we've seen this before in team fights in this game, especially the one in the choke with Sign, where Shia was very boldly positioned right there, Spirit in the front line, but this flash forward is reacted to instantly by Santorin. Yeah. That's the assault and battery he wanted or should have gotten down earlier instead of the one onto Spirit. So good reaction, good change of team play from Santorin, realizing that Xie likes to go in very aggressively like that and punishing him for it. And that's the pick they need. They're going to get a dragon off of that as well.
Well, mop up there in the end. Mystic unable to get out of that pressure. And Dragon did go the way of TSM there, I believe. Yeah, they're up to 4 now, so did take that one out right on its spawn. And Baron's coming up in 10 seconds. TSM now finally managed to push out, get a couple of wards around that Baron area.
Wow.
But you see WE, they're playing super aggressive here. Aluka gonna go charging in with his ultimate. Turtle is there. UJ will be backing him up. Here comes Xie as well. Can they actually lock anyone up? I think they just wanted that map control instantly in their favor on that top side.
I love how aggressively WE plays with this Scion. It's so interesting to watch because they use these Scion ultimates just to get control over a zone on the map. It's a bonus, of course, if you can actually initiate that team fight, but time and time again, it's a very low cooldown ultimate, especially with this Frozen Heart completed, and they just bully people out of situations. They don't care if he takes damage. Let's see if they can pick him off, though.
Oh, well, he is pretty tanky at this stage. His ulti back off cooldown, and he'll just dash on up the river. But he is at a 3rd HP, and TSM are going to look to capitalize this one by pushing mid.
Now, they have to do something about the super minions coming into their base off that bottom inhibitor, though. They're trying to claw their way back in terms of map control, and gold with this turret. They get it. But how much damage are their Nexus turrets going to take? Dyrus is going to be the one to go back, and not much at all.
Oh, you should be able to defend some really good decisions here from Team Solomid. From that first team fight where Santorin saved the ulti, got the right target, and now also getting a mid tower here for themselves. So really clawing their way back in. As you mentioned earlier, Monty, they got the 4 dragons as well. So the 5th one will be super important. For now, it's about the Baron, though. World Elite are still heading gold. No defensive item yet on your Ahri or your Ezreal, so the 2 carries can get locked up by this Vi if they go too aggressive, or if Team Solomid gets the flank here.
Oh, there is Tibbers coming in as well. Spirit actually just walking away from this one. Björnsson will dive into the middle, and again it's a messy one with Dyrus getting the first kill, putting him now onto a killing spree, and TSM are going to chase. Flashing from Lustboy, they pick off Mystic. UJ is extremely low. They've managed to slow GA as well. They should be able to pick him off with Björnsson diving in. It'll be a double for Santorin, and 3 kills this time around. Now going to TSM, who are pushing the inhibitor.
Now can they end right here? There's not a lot of damage and there's not a lot of wave clear. They managed to find those picks time and time again.
They only got 3 minions though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Why enough backing away? But again for Team Solomid here, some very nice engages onto World Elite. They stopped this front line from really getting in position because they're the ones starting the fights now. Single out these targets here. Didn't even get to the carries at first, but got them after.
And this is the thing that we noticed, especially in the GE Tigers game with WE. They don't really have that team fight synergy. When we looked at some of the advantages that WE, 6-7K gold in the lead, and they're still nearly going even in some of these team fight engagements. They aren't always on the same page. And here we go, Spirit backing off right there. Xia has to get off of that equalizer immediately. Good Monsoon to blow Santorin out, but Spirit just gets destroyed inside his own Cataclysm, which he had to just pop defensively. And look at Lustboy, what a good flash right there in W for the 2 stuns.
Some important engages from him, and just we have to give credit to Dyrus as well with his ulti here. He forced Xia to use the Ahri ulti defensively to dash out of the Rumble ulti, and he couldn't get suddenly on to the likes of Björksson or Wild Turtle and assassinate them in the fight here. So suddenly the front line went down first, and that allowed Team Solomid to then clean up. Dragon, about 2 minutes time. Team Solomid are going in again.
Lustboy moving around to the front. He threw down Tibbers, but it's on the other side that they catch out Spirit. Mystic will have to flash an arcane shift away from it, but there comes Santorin from the side. Can they lock any more up? Another double stun from Lustboy comes out, and they've managed to down Aluka. Joker, who's going to come back up here, cause them some problems as Dyrus will fall. Lost Boy's going to go down. Bjornsson, though, is still alive to get himself the double. And there is another one. It's a triple kill. And in the end, it's going to be an ace for Team Solomid.
And will they be able to end right here is the question. They have the Super Minions, the Baron. They've got the pressure. And Lost Boy has been just amazing in these last couple of team fights.
Such a nice comeback from Team Solomid. Getting these fights here, they were the ones to engage on World Elite.
Here we go then, Nexus turret falling down, the crowd going wild here in the Spodek as Team Solomid pick up game number 1 of the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship Final.
What a great comeback from TSM. Very difficult situation to be placed in right there. They needed to find the picks and get WE out of position. And WE punished for some of those questionable team fight positions that we've seen in the past. WE had the, I think, better map control for most of this game, but TSM able to punish them with a better team fight synergy.
Just absolutely loved the way they engaged in the end here. They managed to ignore the sign completely by just running past him and then take Spirit, then the backline.
Fantastic first game here with TSM picking up the victory. We're going to head over to Shops and the guys to break it all.